Wow, good morning. Good morning. A lot of folks waiting. Good morning, everyone. How are you? Welcome to Hot Topics with Don Lemon. I'm so glad that you're here. We have a really fantastic show for you. Wait till you see who my guest is today. You're going to love it, and you're going to be excited about it, and you're going to talk about it, I know. So good morning. Where are you streaming from? Let me know. I am in New York. I'm in my home studio, my original home studio, because I am not downstairs with a Christmas tree and all the celebrations. How are you guys? Good morning, Don, says Motown Boy. Good morning, Portland, Oregon. Don't you love this, Norman? A little bit lighter show in the morning, not quite as serious where we get to business immediately. So I just kind of want to shout everybody out. Indianapolis, Jay West. Ohio, says Michelle. Who's the furthest today? We had someone from Abu Dhabi the other day, someone from Africa, Dominica. Dawn is. Wow, you guys are, I'm telling you, tons of people are tuning in this morning. The engagement is incredible. Thank you. So make sure you hit the thumbs up. I'm so glad that you're all joining us this morning. I hope that you had a fantastic weekend. I had a great one. Lots of Christmas parties. I should have put some of my pictures in. Maybe I'll do that towards the end. I went to some parties with some folks that you will recognize. Great Christmas parties. We sang. There was a band. We did Christmas carols. We did some karaoke. We're just enjoying our lives. Vietnam, there we go. Marjorie, hi. Thank you. Okay, so let's talk about what's going on in the world. A couple things here. A couple things I've been telling you guys about. Remember I say, I think I have a very good sense about everything, about a lot of things. Let me get the microphone closer because I don't want it to seem hollow. I had a little bit of an issue with a hollow microphone the other day. I don't want it to be hollow and I want you guys to be able to hear me. So, you know how I always tell you guys that I have a very good sense about things, a very good sixth sense. I almost sometimes think that I'm psychic. But I have a very good idea about where things are going and what's real and what is not. And this whole Jay-Z story for me, look, you never know. And I always say innocent until proven guilty. But this whole Jay-Z story for me has just not passed the smell test. And I just said, the math was not mathing. I don't know if you guys remember me saying that. There were just some of the details where I said the math is not mathing on any of this. I don't know if any of it's true. And 24 years later, I'm not saying that, I'm not saying the accuser or whatever has the right to file a lawsuit and all of that. But something just didn't add up when it comes to this story, okay? And finally, my friend over at NBC News, Chloe Malas, who used to work with me at CNN as a former colleague, Chloe Malas does an interview with the accuser. And there are some things that came out of this that I'm like, okay, I told you guys so. And everyone wants to go down on Jay-Z. Oh my gosh, of course he's guilty, this. Why do you guys always want to see powerful people go down? Now, if Jay-Z is accused of something and he's guilty of it, then fine. I think that he should. But if not, can you guys wait until the evidence comes out? I don't mean just you guys in general. I'm talking about everyone. It seems that people always want to take glee in someone's downfall, and I really don't like that. So let me just read the quote. This is the quote from the Jay-Z accuser. I made some mistakes. That is what this anonymous Jay-Z accuser is saying in response to journalists discovering significant inconsistencies in her story. Nevertheless, she is standing by her accusation of, you know what, we'll call it grape for the algorithm. Jay-Z and his attorney, his name is Alex Spiro, they are outraged. In a letter to the judge overseeing the case on Friday night, Spiro said the inconsistencies in Jane Doe's account make her allegations a sham, quote, and I'm quoting here from the attorney. Basic facts in her narrative, the who, what, when, and where are wrong, Spiro wrote to the judge. When pressed, the plaintiff admitted that she was guessing about key details. She admits she has no single corroborating witness over the last 24 years. So the question is, what is going to happen next? Another story that I am completely outraged about. Yes, I know that the New York Post, as Nikki says, Don, is the New York Post, wrote that I had a meltdown or a tantrum over Donald Trump being named Time Magazine's Person of the Year. No, I didn't have that. I was just shocked. I was just shocked that they would actually put someone who is an adjudicated assaulter, and according to the judge presiding the case, the judge says that it was akin to what? RAPE is what the judge said. So I don't understand why this whole thing has come out over ABC News settling this case. For what? Every single attorney I've spoken to does not get it. They said that ABC would have won this case. Based on the merits of the case and the evidence that they have now, that the public evidence, ABC would have won. No one understands why ABC is capitulating. I don't know. There are some really great people over at ABC who I know, who run the joint. They're great people. I don't understand why they did it. The journalists, some of the journalists at ABC are contacting me saying they're embarrassing. They believe that it's putting a target on their heads from the administration. So let's start. We're going to start with Jay-Z. And we're going to talk about this with someone there is no better insider than the person I'm going to speak to, okay? To discuss with me what's going to happen next, and that is my friend, DJ Vlad. He's a journalist and he's a creator for VladTV.com. Vlad, good morning to you. Thank you for joining. How are you doing this morning?
I'm good. Thanks for having me over.
Vlad, okay. So Vlad, this is our show that is a little bit more informal that we do. This is for our subscribers. They may have some questions for you.
Okay.
So Vlad, what do you think? Because I know that you have been dealing with this whole Jay-Z story. You've been dealing with the whole Diddy story, right? And then when the Jay-Z allegations came out, you said the same thing that I did. Hey, hold your horses. You don't know. What do you make of this now that we had this interview? And I'm going to play. Would you like me to play the interview and then you want to respond? Do you want to respond before the interview and then we'll put it on?
You can play it. Go ahead.
Okay. Here is the interview. This is the accuser from my friend Chloe Malas over at NBC. Remember, this woman had accused Jay-Z of sexually assaulting her and more when she was 13 years old back in 2000 after the VMA Awards in New York. And now it seems none of what she has to say is adding up. Here's the report.
Tonight, Jay-Z fighting back against a rape accusation. His attorney filing a letter to the judge to dismiss the rape lawsuit against his client, citing an NBC News exclusive that found inconsistencies with the accuser's story.
You should always advocate for yourself.
It comes after our interview with a 38-year-old mother from Alabama who accuses Sean Diddy Combs and Sean Jay-Z Carter of raping her when she was 13 years old. She asked us not to reveal her identity.
What made you want to come forward?
Because I think that I've been quiet long enough.
She says that she went to the MTV Video Music Awards in 2000. The woman says she spoke to Combs' limo driver, who offered her a ride to an after party. She says at the party, she spoke to musician Benji Madden and his brother.
I'm talking to Benji Madden about his tattoo. It's the Last Supper.
In a statement to NBC News, a representative for the Maddens confirmed that they did not attend the 2000 VMAs and that they were on tour in the Midwest at that time. At the after party, she says she had a drink that made her feel woozy. Then she says Combs and Carter both raped her. She says she ran to a gas station where she called her father, who picked her up.
We rode home in silence. She didn't ask me what happened.
In an interview with NBC News, her father said he could not verify the claims. I feel like I would remember that, and I don't, he said. When we asked the woman about the contradictions in a phone interview on Friday, she said she stands by her statements. I have made some mistakes, she said, in remembering what happened 24 years ago. Honestly, what is the clearest is what happened to me. In a statement to NBC News, Sean Carter said, this incident didn't happen. True justice is coming. We fight from victory, not for victory. A representative for Combs called the suit a shameless money grab.
Is any part of you scared coming out against such powerful people?
I'm scared of what could happen, but I'm more afraid of letting it eat me alive from the inside out.
Chloe Malas, NBC News.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news.
Wow. That's from NBC News. Mm-hmm. Vlad, that's a lot of inconsistencies, man. What do you say to that?
I mean, there's more to it. Apparently, the father lived 5 hours away.
Yeah.
Where that party allegedly was.
Right.
So he probably would remember driving 5 hours each way, 10 hours total. He said he would remember that. And apparently she said that, her father was going through a lot of things at the time. They have a lot of arguments about it. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like total nonsense, but this is kind of what happens in the legal profession when you have lawyers that could take on clients on contingency. So it basically means that client pays absolutely no money And if that client doesn't have any money, you can't even countersue because there's nothing to sue for. So ultimately, you're left with a huge bill. And
I don't know if you remember what I said. People, when you went on to Piers Morgan, and I'm going to show some of that, and people were saying, "Well, why Jaguar Wright would do that? If why wouldn't Jay-Z be suing Jaguar Wright?" And I said that it is what you call someone who is what do you call it? Judgment proof, right? Because they don't have any. Yeah. What are they going to sue? What is he going to sue for?
Right. Jaguar Wright at one point, I believe, was living in a U-Haul truck. I mean, what are you suing for at that point? Yeah. There's nothing to sue for. She probably won't even show up to court. So there's really no point of it. It's just a bill.
Yeah. So go on. So what do you think? So people jump to conclusions about this. And I want to let me just play a little bit of what you said when this came out, because the initial thing I think about Jay-Z started coming to light. This was around the Piers Morgan interview, right? When Jaguar Wright made that, because there were rumors online. Yeah. But then Jaguar Wright said it on Piers Morgan, right? And that's when it started to bubble up, correct?
Right, because Jaguar Wright has always lived in the underbelly of YouTube. A lot of these smaller blogs who would bring people on that aren't really, correct in most of the things they say, but it brings a lot of views, brings a lot of conspiracy to it. But when she was on Piers Morgan, it was like, oh, she's now mainstream. Like, this is actually a big deal. I was going to cancel when I found out that she was on the panel because I didn't really want to be associated with that. I've never had her on my show, and I never wanted to have her on my show. So, but I figured, okay, I'll be on the panel, so I'll just address the craziness if it comes out. And sure enough, it came out.
It came out right before you went on. And this is after it came out. And again, I don't want to play it because they actually had to have it removed.
Right. Yeah.
Jay-Z's attorney sent a letter, kind of a cease and desist. And he said it wasn't cease and desist. They did the right thing. But anyway, I'm going to play all of it, and I'm going to let Vlad respond. So Jaguar Wright goes on and can explain to just real quickly, Vlad, who Jaguar Wright is and what happened, why she has beef with him, and then I'll play your thing. So why did this happen?
I mean, Jaguar Wright was a singer 20-something years ago. She had an album that came out on a major label. I believe she sang some background vocals for Jay-Z, I believe on one of his albums, and I believe one of his live events. And ever since then, in the last few years, she became popular by creating these insane conspiracy theories that Jay-Z had Big L killed, that Beyonce kidnaps kids and puts them on planes, that she would escort people out of Diddy parties, and save them. And it just gets more and more ridiculous. I think she accused me of being part of a Mossad, which is the Israeli Secret Service. There's just a bunch of nonsense. And when Piers Morgan put her on front page, though, it became a thing, as you saw.
Yeah. Okay. So here is Vlad. Some of Vlad, we won't play all of it because it's long. Some of Vlad appearing right after Jaguar Wright on Piers Morgan's digital show that is streaming on YouTube. Here it is.
Well, I'm joined now by the host of Vlad TV, DJ Vlad. DJ Vlad, I mean, pretty horrifying listening to these testimonies. What did you make of what you just heard?
Well, Jaguar Wright is known to be a conspiracy theorist. I don't really co-sign anything that she says. I've never had her on my show, and I don't have any plans to have her on my show.
You don't believe her?
She's got an album in 20 years, and a lot of this stuff is just stuff she's heard, things she's making up, and so forth. I'm not saying that there aren't serious things that Diddy may have done, but yeah, I can't co-sign anything that Jaguar Wright is saying, if that's your question.
Well, I mean, obviously, since we last spoke, there have now been these charges against Diddy, which are incredibly serious. You didn't think at the time we last spoke that he was likely to face these charges. Are you surprised it's come to this?
I'm not surprised, because I feel that law enforcement in general is reactionary. I think that when you look at high-profile individuals, their arrests, indictments usually come after a documentary, a big TV show, or in Diddy's case, there was this huge lawsuit that Cassie filed that everyone got to see all the details and all the attention that came to it. So yeah, it wasn't a surprise that it actually happened, because you've seen this happen over and over again. R. Kelly, Harvey Weinstein, all the attention that they got, and then now Diddy. So yeah, I mean, this is ultimately the world that we live in. But he'll have his day in court. And, his lawyer said that he's not going to take a plea deal, because I think a plea deal at this point is probably going to be very heavy-handed, probably 20 years plus. So it makes sense for him to go to court. But we'll ultimately see what happens. Because we haven't really seen, apart from some of the funny stuff of, oh, there's 1 million bottles of lube that they found there. I'm sorry, 1,000 bottles of lube and so forth. We have yet to really see what the evidence is. And I think once we see the actual evidence, then people will actually formulate an opinion on what's happening right now.
Do you think there's a lot of people in the rap world in particular who are pretty fearful right now of where this may all lead? Is it a bit like the Epstein scandal, do you think?
I don't really think so, because, I mean, ultimately, everyone wanted to go to Diddy's white parties when they were happening. If I got an invite, I would go. But there's a party within a party. There's the actual party where the big celebrities go to, the Howard Sterns and the Leonardo DiCaprios and so forth. You never hear of any of them really being involved in any of this stuff. They go home, at 2, 3 o'clock a.m. And then there's the private parties that seem to involve the sex workers and probably certain types of people that are kind of in an inner circle.
No. All right. So we get it. That was Vlad.
We'll
so
see
Vlad,
those names.
So she made all of these accusations about them. You were talking about the party. And yes, if you have been to, now look, I have been to not Diddy's white party, but Michael Rubin's white party, right? And there's like, there are people who are, who stay late and whatever. Nothing, I don't believe anything like this at all goes on at Michael Rubin's white party. Okay, that's a whole different thing. But there's a celebrity party, there's a party for the public, there's a party, that people stay late at night. It's like, it's not everyone who goes to the party ends up participating in all of the fun or activities. And I would imagine that would have been the same thing at Diddy. But in this case, I don't think Jay-Z was even participating in any parties, and this had nothing really to do with any of the parties or whatever. That this was an accusation beyond that, correct?
Yeah, they're saying this is an MTV Awards after party, and if the first complaint was just about Diddy, and then there was an amended complaint that suddenly included Jay-Z. So now the two of them, I guess, gang raped her based on her accusations with zero proof, including her own father, with no other human being has stepped forward and said, yes, I remember she talked to me about this. She showed me, her cuts or scrapes or whatever. No police report, no nothing. How would a 13-year-old even end up at a party?
Yeah.
With Jay-Z and
where were the parents?
Yeah, and Sean Cole.
Were you skeptical after that? Because I think there was an attorney that came on, or someone, there was a woman who came on with you and said, let me just say, allegedly, and also, didn't she say that Jaguar Wright needed to be careful, or Pierce needed to be careful, or something like that? Do you remember that?
Yeah, the woman that went on after me, who was, a Busby type lawyer as well.
What did she say?
She just said that she should be careful about comments about defamation and so forth.
Yeah.
But like when you live in a U-Haul truck, it doesn't really matter. You can say whatever you want to say. Like the crazy person on the corner could yell obscenities at everyone and no one cares.
And so then right after that, this is what happened this is what Piers Morgan had to do after Jay-Z's attorneys sent a letter to Piers Morgan.
The apology.
Going online and going on television, having fun with that Diddy story, making up all kinds of stories and allegations.
During that,
do you have the response, or is this the one that you had? Is it the one with me? Yeah.
Unexpectedly made several serious allegations about Jay-Z and Beyonce during that interview. As I said in the moment, they were not present to respond or defend themselves, but now they have. Their lawyers contacted us to say that those claims were totally false and have no basis in fact, and we've therefore complied with the legal request to cut them from the original interview. Editing interviews is not something we do lightly at a show called Uncensored. But, like the proverbial cries of fire in a crowded theatre, there are legal limits on us too. And we apologise to Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Wow. Yeah. That's huge. Vlad?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why he put her on in the first place. Honestly, like I have no idea. Like I wouldn't put her on just because the liability at Vlad TV and my company's way smaller than his. So I have no idea.
You don't think it's just clicks? You don't think Piers likes the clicks?
Everyone likes clicks, but no one likes lawsuits. And we could do all types of crazy stuff when we have platforms. We could bring in all types of lunatics and so forth, and colorful figures where it's not based on any level of fact. But not all clicks are good clicks.
Yeah, I agree. What do you guys think? Do you have any questions for Vlad? What do you think? Why did Piers Morgan put her on? Why would he even go there? Again, an accusation is an accusation. I agree with Vlad. There are certain things you just don't go there, even if you are a streamer or if you are a blogger or just whatever. You can be sued for putting things on that is not true. I don't understand. I'm with you. I don't understand why Piers Morgan would even allow an accusation like that to go on his channel. Well, not long after that, Jay-Z's attorney responded. This is Jay-Z's attorney on TMZ responding to it. And he's telling you why Piers had to do what he did. Here it is.
This must have been shocking to you that somebody comes on a show and then kind of levels these vague-ish allegations. Were you kind of ready for something like this to eventually happen?
Listen, there's rumors and then there's nonsense, and this is one step further, right? This is a pointed and formal accusation of something, I felt it needed to be responded to. So I think somebody reported it was a cease and desist. It wasn't that. It was quite bluntly an ultimatum, which is remove that false accusation that's demonstrably false, or a court's going to order you to. And so I think he made the wise choice and acted accordingly.
He meaning Piers Morgan.
Removing it and apologizing for it, yes. What changed here in my mind is that somebody on a so-called journalistic platform exploited that kind of random rumor mill, whether it's disconnected from reality or what have you, and lifted it up. And by doing that, you know, they not only caused harm here, but they are also droning out the voices of real victims. And by doing that to get clicks, he didn't just harm the Carters. What he did effectively was to drone out the voices of actual victims in an ongoing case, in an ongoing investigation. And that was too much for me.
Are you in the process of making sure that it is taken down everywhere?
What I am here to say is that in a situation as serious as this, somebody who puts themselves out as a journalist should not effectively take advantage of the situation and exploit somebody in this way. And so that's the real reason for action.
Does it strike you a little bit that there's been a lot of silence in Hollywood in the wake of all of this?
Well, as to the Carters, you know, I can tell you that when they put their foot down on something as they did here, you know, they are sending a message. And if they can't stand up and make sure right from wrong, then who can? I've always believed that the truth will come out in courtrooms, and I'm sure the truth will come out here.
Wow. Okay, so then they were playing hardball back then, obviously, and you see what happened. He had to take it down and an apology.
Yeah.
After this, so then after that, Jay-Z ended up anonymously suing. Is it suing or threatening to sue the accuser here, correct? In an anonymous filing?
I thought it was Busby. I thought he was sued Busby anonymously.
That's what I mean. Sued the attorney for the alleged accuser, correct? Because his name at this point, when that interview happened, when you were on Piers Morgan, at this point, it was an anonymous celebrity, an anonymous person in the filing. And then once, then they refiled and they amended it, I should say, not refiled. They amended it and they made Jay-Z's name public, correct?
Right. Well, along with Diddy, because Diddy was in the original filing.
Right. Diddy was the original filing. So so they were playing hardball then, but now they're playing hardball, even harder ball now, because then after that, after the name came out, right, Jay-Z sent a response that was, I think, pretty shocking for a celebrity. And you know about this because you've covered it before. Celebrities usually don't go that far because they don't want to add fuel to the fire, Vlad. They usually say, look, we're going to fight this in court. We're going to litigate this in court. And we're not going beyond that. And, you know, the truth will come out, categorically denies. Jay-Z said, my lawyer received a blackmail attempt called a demand letter from a lawyer named Tony Busby. What he had calculated was the nature of these allegations and the public scrutiny would make me want to settle. No, sir. It had the opposite effect. It made me want to expose you for the fraud you are in a very public fashion. So no, I will not give you one red penny. And then it goes on to get even more scathing. He calls Busby basically an ambulance chaser. He threatens to sue him and says, look, threatens to take even more legal action. Said, if you believe these things, then you should file a criminal complaint here, because wouldn't you want someone who's accused of this to face the consequences of possibly going to jail? That is a pretty strong response from someone who is as high profile and who is usually as quiet about these things as Jay-Z. What did you make of that?
I mean, it was interesting, and it sounds very heavy-handed, and it sounds very threatening, like we're going to sue you and you're going to be disbarred and so forth. I think in the grand scheme of things, I don't think anything's going to happen. Because I think lawyers have kind of a loophole to protect themselves to say, well, we thought that this person was legitimate and we've done some background checks on the story. But ultimately, lawsuits get thrown out every single day, thousands of them. And lawyers continue to do their job. So although Jay-Z's threatening this and that, I don't think anything's really going to happen because of the way the legal system is set up.
Vlad, I think for this one, I don't know if I agree with you. You could be, and you may end up being right in the end. I think now with the way the courts are going, with Jay-Z responding the way that he does, I think we're in a different era now. And if you look at what happened with Trump and ABC, which we're going to get to next, I think that the ground is shifting, the landscape is changing as it relates to defamation and slander in these lawsuits, because for some reason ABC was in fear of it. And I think if Tony Busby ended up not vetting his client, and then someone as high profile as Jay-Z, such really just harsh, terrible accusations coming out, I think if they can get that past the first round of whatever it is, then I think Busby could be in trouble. I really do think that things are different now. And I don't think that Jay-Z has the money to take this to the mat.
He does, but ultimately if he was suing the accuser, it would make a lot of sense. He could sue the accuser for false claims and damage his reputation, but the accuser sounds like a crazy person, right? So there's nothing to sue over there. He could try to sue Busby, but I believe there's certain protections for lawyers that allow that. I've had frivolous lawsuits. I'm pretty sure you've had frivolous lawsuits. No, you have had frivolous lawsuits that have been thrown out. We talked about that in our intervio.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? What happened to the lawyer? What happened to the lawyer that filed that frivolous lawsuit against you? What happened to him?
Right.
He's still practicing right now, right?
I'm sure. I had no idea, but yes.
That's what I'm saying. He had no sanctions. He didn't lose his license. He wasn't scolded by the judge. He got thrown out, and he went on and chased some more ambulances.
But I think only if you don't pursue it on that end. I think most people are just like, look, it's over. Your client has to pay my legal fees or whatever. But I don't know. Maybe now, because Jay-Z's response was so strong against the attorney, he's not responding against he's talking about the accuser, but really his ire goes to the attorney in this letter. If we can put it back up just so I can show you here, he talks about the attorney more than he talks about the accuser. He said, my only heartbreak is that he talks about his family, but he says, this lawyer, who I have done a bit of research on, seems to have a pattern of these types of theatrics. I have no idea how you have come to be such a deplorable human, Mr. Busby, but I promise you, I have seen your kind many times over. I'm more than prepared to deal with your type. You claim to be a Marine. Marines are known for their valor. You have neither honor nor dignity. Most people don't respond to the attorney like that. That's what I'm saying, Vlad. He is targeting the attorney here. So I don't think it's over as it relates to this attorney. I think he's going to try to take this attorney down.
I mean, he could definitely try. And from someone that's been sued, who's had to deal with this, who's paid out a lot of money just to settle lawsuits that I had nothing to do with, I hope that this passes. I'm rooting for Jay-Z, but I'm just telling you about the reality of the legal system. This is just tough talk right now. There hasn't been a lawsuit filed that I know of. And look, Busby responded several times. I find the funny part about Busby's response was he said that we didn't ask for any money from Jay-Z. We just asked for mediation. In a civil lawsuit, mediation is a money conversation. Am I right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So they are asking for money. They're asking for the first step to talk about how much money his client is going to get. And he, of course, gets about 1/3 to 40% of that money for himself. So right. He is asking for money. Every civil lawsuit asks for money. When they say this is not a money grab, unless it's a dollar lawsuit, it is a money grab by definition. So, like I said, I'm rooting for Jay-Z. I'm on your side. But do I really think anything's going to happen to Busby? I don't think so.
Yeah.
The other lawyer that sued Diddy, the Lil Rod lawyer, he had all types of insane stuff in that lawsuit that didn't make sense, that didn't match up. There was a picture in that lawsuit of a gay scene, and in the lawsuit it said it's Stevie J, and the gay porn actor came forward and said, "No, that's actually me. That's one of my movies."
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's a serious accusation when it's just not true at all about a known person like Stevie J, who I've interviewed before.
Yeah. So let's get to the comments, Vlad, before we, round out this story. Toy B says, but he didn't go after Jag, nor did he, or not did he? What do you say to that? What do you say to Toy B about that?
I mean, I've addressed that. You can't sue someone who lives in a U-Haul truck. What are you going to sue for? What's probably going to happen? Like, if I was Jaguar Wright and I got sued by Jay-Z, I would show up to court without a lawyer and just wild out in court and, get more attention. And then whatever, she loses for $1 million and she doesn't have it and life goes on.
Yeah. It's interesting to me because there are other folks who are talking about this as well. He is targeting the attorney to send a message to other attorneys who might be out there for a money grab, says Lily Rio. I think that's true. You said this was just tough talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's no shortage of lawyers that'll do something like this, knowing that it'll probably get thrown out, but in the process, they'll get so much free publicity that they'll get all types of other clients in the process. And I think that's the long play for attorneys like Busby.
Yeah. Joe No says, and Jay wants to take Busby down for Diddy too. Don't forget that. Does that have any credence? Do you believe that?
I doubt that. He's trying to take Jay-Z down he's trying to take the lawyer down for Diddy, but that same lawyer has over 200 lawsuits against Diddy already.
Yeah. I saw an attorney this weekend that said, what was a lawsuit for? How many Busby? He said he had 120 accusers. And the lawyer said,
I think that number's grown over time.
Yeah. The lawyer, who is a credible lawyer, who represented some very high profile people, said, Don, that just seems like a lot. And this person is not representing, Diddy or anybody. It just says that seems just outside of the realm of possibilities. Do you agree with that?
100%.
Why do you agree with that?
I mean, it's a pylon that's happening right now. Are there real victims like Cassie? Absolutely. Are there other victims? We'll see based on the evidence that comes out in this case. It seems like Diddy's going to take this to trial. So we'll get to see everything. 120 people, 200 people, no proof. Like, I've been at Daddy's house before. I've interviewed, I think, Young Berg at Daddy's house. There may be some pictures of me there. I could say I got sexually assaulted that day. Diddy wasn't even there, though. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, anyone that's ever taken a picture with Diddy is now thinking, maybe I can get a few dollars out of this. Because ultimately, here's the thing, and people don't understand this. Like people who've never been through lawsuits like you and I don't understand this. And they think that when you settle, you are guilty and you're trying not to worsen your exposure to this situation. That's not true. When you settle, it comes down to a mathematical equation. Okay, I could settle for $20,000, or I could spend an extra $100,000 and get it thrown out.
$1 million.
Or I could spend an extra $500,000, have it go to court and win, and then not be able to countersue. So this $10,000 is looking very attractive to me right now. You settle, you give the person the $10,000, everyone signs whatever they got to sign, and you go on with their lives, and you're annoyed about it, but you go on and continue to make money. That's what happens 90% of the time, I would say. Or some people say, then you got the Cardi B's of the world that say, no, I'm going to prove a point. I'm going to spend $1.5 million on lawsuits, and I'm going to sue Tasha K because what she said really upsets me. But I'm going to spend this money knowing I may never collect because she's still having problems collecting. And just to prove a point, because I have so much money I could do it. Most people don't have that type of extra money to spend an extra $500,000, $1 million just to prove a point. I certainly don't.
Yeah. Some folks said, listen, I forget what the thing is. They did it because, as you said they did it because they didn't want to have to deal with and paying out a lot of money. But it seems like as we move on now, we're going to put a pin in the Jay-Z story and see what happens. As we move on to talk about this ABC lawsuit, that perhaps this was the reason that ABC settled this lawsuit, but that doesn't seem to apply here. Vlad, I'm going to get you to respond to this quickly and then I'll let you go. But ABC News will pay $15 million in a settlement reached with President-elect Donald Trump and his defamation suit against the network and anchor George Stephanopoulos. Now, I want to play the interview that really was the crux of all of this. And this was an interview with George Stephanopoulos on Meet the Press with Representative Nancy Mace, a Republican representative. And this was all about the allegations for E. Jean Carroll. George Stephanopoulos was asking her as she was a survivor of SA and, and beyond, why she was supporting a man who was adjudicated and to be found liable for it. And here's the interview. Watch.
Morning. You've endorsed Donald Trump for president. Judges and 2 separate juries have found him liable for rape and for defaming the victim of that rape. How do you square your endorsement of Donald Trump with the testimony we just saw?
Well, I will tell you, I was raped at the age of 16. And any rape victim will tell you, I've lived for 30 years with an incredible amount of shame over being raped. I didn't come forward because of that judgment and shame that I felt. And it's a shame that you will never feel, George. And I'm not going to sit here on your show and be asked a question meant to shame me about another potential rape victim. I'm not gonna do that.
It's actually not about shaming you. It's a question about Donald Trump.
No, you are shaming me.
You've endorsed Donald Trump for president.
Right.
Donald Trump has been found liable for rape by a jury. Donald Trump has been found liable for defaming the victim of that rape by a jury. It's been affirmed by a judge.
It was not a criminal court case, number one. Number two, I live with shame. And you're asking me a question about my political choices, trying to shame me as a rape victim, and I find it disgusting. And quite frankly...
Can we pause, please? Okay, so here's the thing on this. I can understand her responding, but to say that she is being shamed because of that, she's a representative, she is a woman, she's being asked a legitimate question about how can you, and even if she is a survivor, I think that question is even more pertinent and more relevant for someone like her, who is in the political realm, right? I mean, do you see, did you find George Stephanopoulos' question to be a shaming of Representative Nancy Mace?
No, she was gaslighting. She was trying to pivot out of answering the question.
Because she didn't really have an answer for it.
She didn't have an answer, yeah. So it's like, you're shaming me for me getting raped, but we're not talking about you getting raped. But, since you did get raped, this is a question that hits a little bit closer to home. How can you support someone who is a convicted rapist in a civil case? And she said, this is not a criminal case, which is true.
Yeah.
But
liable, not convicted.
Liable
in a civil.
In a civil case, right. Well, and for those that don't know, a civil case means 51%. If the judge or the jury says that more probable than not, this person's telling the truth, 51%, then we're going to vote for them.
It means in a civil case, it's the preponderance of the evidence, right? And in a criminal case, it is beyond a reasonable doubt. And again, what the ruling was that it was liable for sexual assault. And then the judge later clarified, saying it is only semantics that it did indeed. If you look at the Washington Post story and other stories, and what the judge says that it is akin to, beyond, RAPE. Right. Go on. I'm just saying that for the algorithm so that we don't get kicked off, but go on.
Right. Okay. So I'll avoid certain words, but basically the R word in New York means specific type things with penile penetration, whereas in her case, it was fingers penetrating. So therefore it was SA as opposed to the R word. So that's where the semantics of it lies. But you're right. If it went to court, Trump's lawyers would have an impossible time trying to prove that he was defamed somehow.
Yeah.
Because he was accused of a word that's almost a synonym of the other word.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that there were certain things that they didn't want to come out in the trial. And I think this is a long play for ABC and ultimately Disney, who's the parent company, to avoid certain other lawsuits in the future. And at the end of the day, you get these $15 million settlements, and does it really play out to that amount? Whenever I hear about these huge settlements, these huge billion-dollar, verdicts and so forth, no one really covers years later when the number gets whittled down to something that's actually reasonable.
Yeah. Or no one covers when it gets thrown out,
exactly.
or when the accuser has to pay money, etc. Right. Nobody really covers it. They
it's
just
not
go
as sexy. Yeah, it's not as sexy as seeing Trump gets 15 million. Like, wow, to a library that doesn't exist yet. So there's going to be a little money skimmed away in different places and so forth. So
the poll that we have up right now in the comments, please let us know. Should ABC News have settled? I want you to vote on that, and then let's continue on with the interview, because in the interview, George Stephanopoulos, I hope we have that version, goes on to explain. Here it is.
Jean Carroll's comments when she did get the judgment, joking about what she was going to buy, It doesn't, it makes it harder for women to come forward when they make a mockery out of rape, when they joke about it.
Doesn't it make it harder for women to come forward when they?
It makes it harder when other women joke about it, and she's joked about it. I find it offensive, and I also find it offensive that you're trying to shame me with this question.
I'm not trying to shame you
at
all. In fact,
I have dealt with this for 30 years. You know how hard it was to tell my story 5 years ago when they were doing a fetal heartbeat bill and there were no exceptions for rape, incest, or rape or incest in there? I had to tell my story because no other woman was coming forward. No rape victims were represented. And you're trying to shame me this morning.
I'm just asking.
And I find it offensive, and this is why women won't come forward.
Women won't come forward because they're defamed by those who perpetrate rape.
They are judged and they're shamed, and you're trying to shame me this morning. I think it's disgusting.
I'm not shaming you at all.
I've told my story. It took me 25 years to tell my story. I was judged for it. I still get judged for it today.
I'm asking you a very simplicity of doing.
He defended himself over that and denies that it ever happened, but he was not found guilty in a criminal court of law. It was a civil judgment.
So is that the distinction you're making?
Abuse.
A civil judgment is okay, but a criminal judgment is not?
This is different, and they didn't even input all of the evidence into the civil case either, because some of the information she provided wasn't even accurate or correct. But to sit here and ask me as a rape victim to try to shame me for my political choices is wrong, and I think it's offensive. I mean,
you can repeat that again and again and again.
I'm going to, because I find it deeply offensive.
You don't find it offensive that Donald Trump has been found liable for rape?
I find it offensive as a rape victim that you're trying to shame me for my political choices. And I've said again repeatedly, E. Jean Carroll has made a mockery out of rape by joking about it. I don't find that funny. Well, rape is not funny.
You've made it
rape
perfectly clear.
Serious.
You've made it perfectly clear. You're comfortable.
Rape is serious.
It is
it's
serious.
Not funny, and it shouldn't be made a mockery of. But if you want to defend a woman who made a mockery out of rape, then you go ahead and do that. I'm not going to do that.
Well, actually, what you're doing is defending a man who's been found liable for rape. I don't understand how you can do that.
Not in a criminal court of law. This was a civil judgment over sexual abuse, not rape, by the way, and she made a mockery out of it.
Can we pull up the Washington Post headline right there? In fact, it has been shown to be rape. The judge affirmed that it was, in fact, rape. Donald Trump was found to have committed rape. That's just a fact.
That is a civil judgment, not a criminal court. They're two very different things, and you know better.
Well, I just showed you the facts.
You know better.
You show that you're very comfortable with what Donald Trump has done.
And what you've done is offensive to women who've been raped. What you've done this morning is offensive.
Well, we'll let the viewers decide about that.
South Carolinians every single day, and they support Donald Trump. He's going to win our state overwhelmingly in November.
How have you held Donald Trump accountable for what he did on January 6th?
The American people have held him accountable through the ballot box, just as they will hold Joe Biden accountable in November at the ballot box.
And
that's
you will
where
continue
it's been
to support him even if he's convicted of a felony?
Well, here's the thing. You know, the court cases, the lawsuits, that has nothing to do with you or me, or it doesn't affect the American people. The chaos that Joe Biden has created by having a wide open border affects every single American. We saw it.
So he explained. I don't understand it. He said, look, and he showed the evidence from the judge. Vlad, you're in the media business, but you're also an American citizen outside looking in. Mm-hmm. What is going on here? Because every single attorney I've spoken to said, I have no idea, unless there was some underlying factor that ABC did not want, perhaps in discovery of them getting hold of emails, or I have no idea.
Yeah, it was probably that. It's probably a long play, or I don't know. It has to tie into other things, because I think from what I've read, if they do start going through discovery and doing depositions and so forth and start bringing out emails, that could potentially open them up to other lawsuits that could be a lot more than $15 million. Yeah. Because we're in a world of billion-dollar lawsuits.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. DJ Vlad, thank you, sir. We'll be watching. I know that you had DL on to talk about some of these issues. And I can't. DL is up now, and I'm sure you'll be continuing to talk about the Jay-Z story and the Diddy story. And remember, how many more accusers have come there? What is it, 2 or 3 men that have come forward as it relates to Sean Combs?
It's an ongoing stream of lawsuits. So it just
thank you, Vlad. I appreciate it. All right, absolutely, 100%. Thank you so much. So, guys, we'll see Vlad, DJ Vlad from Vlad TV. So, guys, the poll is up, and it says, should ABC News have settled? 86% of you say no. 10% say I'm not sure. 5% say yes. I'd be interested to know why the 5% say yes. I'm not sure why. You would say yes, but it's just interesting to me in all of this. I don't know why ABC would settle, and I'm not sure if you've heard I want to hear from some of the folks and show you just some of the responses. Okay. This is the MSNBC legal team or legal folks over at MSNBC responding to this lawsuit. Again, before I go, let me just say this whole Nancy Mace interview was, was gaslighting on her part. To be asked a question as a legislator, someone who is supporting Donald Trump. Now, he asked nothing about her being the survivor, the alleged survivor of assault. He asked her nothing about that. He just said, what do you think of it? And then she brought that up. And he said, well, I would have said, well, since you are saying what you're saying, that makes my question even all the more legitimate and more important to answer. No one is trying to shame you. I just want to know why you support. I would ask any man or any woman sitting here, why? Why? Right? Helen P says, Don, be careful. Okay, thank you, Helen P. But why? I mean, I'm just giving facts here. It just seems that she is, for some reason, I don't know, obfuscating, pointing to the shiny object, trying to change the subject. And then he clarified. I'm not sure why they settled. It doesn't make sense. I think it is chilling for journalism. And I think it sets a bad precedent for journalists across the board, because folks are going to be concerned as this person is saying, Don, be careful. Be careful for stating the truth, for reading the facts, for reading a report that is in the newspaper that has been printed, the report of the actual words of the judge who presided over the case, that folks need to be concerned about that. That is chilling for journalism. I think journalists need to be able to stand up and tell the truth and without fear or favor. This is some of the legal folks over at MSNBC. Watch their response.
It was to me that with that language, with that quotation, ABC actually had a very strong case, but chose to settle. A settlement is not an admission of liability. It is instead an agreement to end the matter in the best interest of both parties. But they are agreeing to issue this statement of regret, which is not exactly an apology. But I do worry about the effect this could have on others and the chilling effect it might have on people who otherwise would be critical of Donald Trump.
To prove defamation, you have to prove that Stephanopoulos said something false and knew it was false. As Barb says, it's not even clear this was false. One juror was hesitant about using rape, but rape or sexual assault equally well satisfied what they were having to find. And the judge did affirm this is what they were found. So, yes, I think they had a strong case. I'll say this with no basis whatsoever, but given the strength of the law and the fact that they were going to be deposing Trump in just a few days, and that's always something you want to do if you're on the other side of a lawsuit from him. He can be so erratic and inculpatory. I got to think that the ABC boardroom was involved in this decision somehow. And my big worry, to put a finer point on what Barb is saying, is it is somehow caught up in the fact that he's going to be president soon.
Interesting. So that's the folks over at MSNBC. They're believing that had something to do with ABC. ABC obviously is owned by Disney. And perhaps, as folks have been positing and have been concerned about these journalistic organizations, these news organizations being owned by entertainment and communications companies, that they're concerned about their business in Washington in front of the FEC, et cetera, in front of the Trump administration. They don't want any interference. They don't want anything to be held up. Their mergers and acquisitions, their consolidations, any business that they have to do in Washington. And therefore, they believe that folks are acquiescing in advance, complying in advance to the Trump administration, who has been by far out in front saying, we're going to go after journalists. Even the person they want to lead the FBI has been saying that. This is Joyce Vance, who is a legal expert, and also my friend Simone Sanders over at the MSNBC responding as well. Let me know what you think. Here it is.
Press is in a difficult position. Everyone understands that. That doesn't change the obligation to be straightforward and objective when it comes to Donald Trump.
I would just say, I mean, this feels like it has a real chilling effect. Shout out to the standards department. Okay, standards is always making sure that we are keeping the bar high and substantive and accurate. But what George Stephanopoulos said in that interview, I mean, it seems to hold up with what the judge said after the fact. And now his news organization and himself George Stephanopoulos himself is paying $1 million of his own money to the lawyers, and ABC $15 million. It's insane.
It is. Again, journalists over at ABC responding, or at least telling me, this is chilling. They're worried that if something happens to them, if there is some sort of, if someone goes after them, or perhaps there's a mistake, they're concerned that their organization, and even just beyond ABC, their organization will not stand behind them as well. I want to put up, this is our friends over at the Midas Touch, Ben Mycelis. It's a little bit long. I'll let some of it play. But Ben is an attorney, and as you know, a very esteemed attorney, and is really steeped in all of these matters. And Ben does not understand and is, I believe, legitimately outraged by this. Here it is.
We're getting into why I believe this settlement agreement between ABC, George Stephanopoulos, and Donald Trump is so egregious. Let me remind you what Judge Lewis Kaplan, who presided over the E. Jean Carroll case, said in two separate orders. Let me read you order number one, just a small portion of it. Federal Judge Lewis Kaplan, who presided over both jury verdicts, which unanimously found in favor of E. Jean Carroll, right? This is what Judge Kaplan said. The jury did not award Miss Carroll more than $2 million in damages for groping her breast through her clothing. Wrongful as that might have been, there was no evidence at all of such behavior. Instead, the proof convincingly establishes, and the jury implicitly found, that Mr. Trump deliberately and forcibly penetrated Miss Carroll's vagina with his fingers, causing immediate pain and long-lasting emotional and psychological harm. Mr. Trump's argument therefore ignores the bulk of evidence at trial, misinterprets the jury's verdict, and mistakenly focuses on the New York penal law definition of, quote, rape, to the exclusion of the meaning of that word as it is often used in everyday life, and of the evidence of what actually occurred between Miss Carroll and Mr. Trump. That's order number one. Order number two, in a separate order, Federal Judge Lewis Kaplan wrote as such. As the court explained in its recent decision denying Mr. Trump's motion for a new trial on damages and other relief in Carroll 2, based on all the evidence at trial and the jury's verdict as a whole, the jury's finding that Mr. Trump, quote, sexually abused Miss Carroll implicitly determined that he forcibly penetrated her digitally. In other words, that Mr. Trump, in fact, did, quote, rape Miss Carroll, as the term commonly is used and understood in context outside of the New York penal law. Folks, I'm not giving you the Ben Mycelis narrative of what happened. I am just reading for you the order by the court. I'm reading a judicial finding that was made by a well-respected federal judge who presided over both E. Jean Carroll case. I want to give you that as context. So with that as context, let me give you the analysis now of the underlying settlement. Just to do that, I don't need to reinvent the wheel. Let me show you when the news broke, when it happened right away. Here was the breaking news bulletin I put out. Remember what I just said, though, as you're listening to this, so you remember what is it that the federal judge in the underlying case said. And let me just put it in this perspective for you as well. E. Jean Carroll has not seen a single penny as a sexual assault victim. $0 from the case thus far. Donald Trump posted a bond that an insurance company helped him post. She hasn't gotten a single penny yet. Donald Trump gets $15 million through his presidential library and his attorney's fees covered from Disney/ABC and George Stephanopoulos for how they reported on what occurred between Donald Trump and E. Jean Carroll. So Trump gets that money? Seriously? Watch the full context of what I say, though, in this next.
There we go. And then Ben explains why he believes what he does, and he says it's utterly outrageous. It's mind-boggling to attorneys. I'm telling you, Ben is an attorney, and most of the attorneys that I've spoken to don't understand why. They were about to depose Donald Trump. Do you think Donald Trump wants to be deposed before the inauguration? That's why I don't understand why this happened. I don't understand the settlement. I really don't. And most people don't as well. Headline from the Huffington Post. Let's put that up. Journalistic organizations not understanding. The headline from the Washington Post, from the Huffington Post says it such, if we can put that up. Deeply concerning. Ex-prosecutor calls ABC's Trump settlement far from normal. That's what folks are reporting. George Conway, who is a very respected attorney. You guys know George Conway. He has been on all of the cable news and broadcast news channels, is the ex-husband of Kellyanne Conway, who ran Donald Trump's 2016 campaign and helped to get him elected. George Conway put up a tweet saying that he did not understand any of this as well. George Conway saying the ABC News settlement makes zero sense from a legal standpoint. It assumes there is a moral or reputational difference between forcibly penetrating a woman's V with fingers and doing so with a penis. It also assumes that Trump has a reputation that could suffer damage. Vajayjay, vagina, I'll say it because I said the word penis as well. So he doesn't understand. Mark Elias also, I believe Mark is an attorney as well, put out 3 different tweets. Mark Elias saying, knee bent, ring kiss, another legacy news outlet chooses obedience. A reminder, Democracy Docket is fiercely independent and unapologetically pro-democracy, will not back down, it will not obey, sign up to support. And that's the democracy thing. And he's reporting on breaking news there. And he goes, I bet Bezos, Zuckerberg, and the rest are bummed that they will now need to match the $15 million payment to Trump in order to keep up with Disney. Again, this is Mark Elias. The next one says, does anyone have a list of legacy media that have not yet apologized to, praised, or paid Trump since Election Day? Again, very concerning. Don't know why. Not sure why. Maybe there's some more information that is going to come out. Who knows? This is the ABC statement that they released. A full statement from ABC. And it's so, man, this is so tiny. I cannot read it. You'd have to put it full screen and get rid of me. Let's see if I can see some of it. But it says ABC shall cause a transfer in the amount of $15 million, blah, blah, blah. ABC source Stephanopoulos has said this regret statements regarding President Donald J. Trump made during the interview by George Stephanopoulos and Representative Nancy Mace a week ago. And then ABC has a full statement that they have to put out. But again, this is according to the filing, how they're going to respond, and what they're going to have to do. Chilling for journalism, everyone. This is chilling for the profession of journalism. And I know that journalists across the country and really across the world, I believe those who are reporting for American organizations who not in America still, and who have to report on this administration, even for foreign affairs, it is concerning. What do you guys think? Wow, just wow. I agree. Wow, just wow. We'll see what George has to say. And again, I am not blaming George. George works for a large organization. Perhaps that large organization has a legitimate reason why they did it. But usually in these instances, news organizations, especially for something like this, would usually fight this kind of thing to the mat so that it doesn't set a precedent. There are many cases where people have to settle and organizations settle because they just don't want to have to deal with things. This one, for some reason, feels different. I don't know why. Some folks are saying it's because of access. I don't know if that is true. I don't really know. But I know that journalists are really concerned about it. And I don't know what happens next and what organization is going to be next and what organization will be targeted, potentially targeted by the incoming administration. If journalists will pull their punches, if the corporations that own those news organizations are going to stand behind their journalists. Because let's remember, no matter how much standards and practices, no matter how many hoops you have to jump through to get things on the air or in print or out digitally or whatever it is that you have to do, that you have to post them, people are fallible. Mistakes can be made. The administration will make mistakes. News organizations will make mistakes. Corporations will make mistakes. Human beings make mistakes. Usually, there is a presumption that if you make a mistake, it's a legitimate mistake, then folks let it go. You apologize, you correct the record, and you move on. In this environment, Is that going to happen? Some folks may say, look, I don't want to have to deal with it. We don't know. And so we're just not going to publish this. We're just not going to go with this. I believe that that's going to be the concern. There was a bill to protect journalist sources that was killed by a member of Congress, a Republican member of Congress that would have protected journalists and their sources recently. That bill was killed. So I don't know what this does for you as it relates to corporate media. I know that independent media folks are still out here speaking truth to power, and maybe even more vulnerable because they don't have millions of dollars and high-profile lawyers, high-powered lawyers to defend. So are they going to try to squash the little guy as well as the big guy? We shall see. Let me know. Angela B says, independent media won't be protected unless you're insured. Unless you are insured. Even just reporting on it, reading the facts and the headlines from legitimate news organizations, folks will be concerned about that, about citing legitimate news organizations. Let me know, do you think this is for the best? Do you think it makes news organizations? Maybe you think it makes them have to be more accurate. I don't know. I have no idea. That's why independent news organizations need to be supported. And that's why when we tell you that you need to hit the algorithm by hitting the thumbs up and subscribing, that you need to support us through however it is that you can, that you need to become a member. We have memberships here on this platform, that you need to become a subscriber to keep independent voices independent and free from the influence of corporate media and perhaps free from the influence of the administration. We're supposed to be able to do this without fear or favor and be protected by the First Amendment of the Constitution. So I thank you for tuning in. I thank you for watching whatever platform that you are watching us on, that you're consuming this information. I hope that you do hit the thumbs up. I hope that you do subscribe. I hope that you do become a member. Beth Collier, thank you. Beth Collier has gifted 5 memberships. So check us out on all of our platforms, and we appreciate you joining us. And I'm going to see you a little bit later on this afternoon. Remember, we have stuff that happens. We're going to drop something at 2 o'clock and then again at 5 o'clock Eastern time. Okay? We'll see you soon. We are thrilled to have you as one of our watchers. So thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe button as well. And that way you can be notified about all of our new content. There's plenty of it for you. We're live every day at 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop more videos at 2 p.m. Eastern and at 5 p.m. And if you want even more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon Nation, of the Lemon community. Members receive access to special community posts, exclusive content, and live shows. So just head right over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again,